The 1986 Chernobyl disaster became the largest technogenic tragedy in human history, leaving a deep mark on the fates of millions of people and on the very land where the nuclear power plant was located. Despite the passing decades, this event still evokes strong emotions and makes one reflect on the fragility of the modern world. This narrative examines 20 of the darkest, strangest, and most unusual facts and findings related to Chernobyl, and it all begins with the hospital basement, a place surrounded by a sinister reputation. We are talking about the basement of Medical Unit Number 126, which is a narrow corridor about 70 meters long, with heating and water pipes running along the walls and small rooms encountered along the way. Although Pripyat has long since turned into a tourist site, people prefer not to spread word about this basement, not because it is frightening in appearance, but because being there is extremely dangerous. It was to this hospital that the firefighters who were the first to join the battle against the burning reactor were brought. Upon entering the unit, they took off their uniforms, and the radiation-contaminated clothing was thrown into the basement, where it remains to this day. Many of these people died within 2 weeks, having received lethal doses of radiation. Because of this, the place has become overgrown with many legends. Some claim that you can allegedly encounter the ghosts of the deceased there, but in reality the entrance is closed due to extremely high radiation levels. Individual items emit up to tens of millions of Roentgens, which many times exceeds the natural background. After the explosion, the Soviet leadership faced an urgent task: to stop the spread of radioactive substances and isolate the destroyed reactor. On May 15, 1986, the Ministry of Medium Machine Building was instructed to begin the construction of a protective structure in the shortest possible time. Just 2 days later, a work management system was created, and a week later, the first specialists arrived on site. The scale of the destruction was so serious that the reactor literally had to be buried under concrete, earth, and heavy metals. 18 projects were considered, and the variant of engineer Vladimir Kurnesov was chosen, providing for the phased creation of protective layers from the periphery to the center. In a record 206 days, more than 90,000 workers erected the so-called sarcophagus. About 400,000 cubic meters of concrete were used, over 7,000 metal structures were installed, and a huge amount of contaminated soil was removed. The northern wall consisted of 4 tiers of 12 meters each. The formwork consisted of metal sheets almost 54 meters long, each weighing about 100 tons. The western part was closed with a concrete wall 45 meters high, and the central part was covered by 2 massive beams weighing more than 165 tons. During construction, more than 24 huge pipes, 36 meters long and more than a meter in diameter, were dismantled. Initially, the service life of the shelter was estimated until 2006, but subsequently the structure was reinforced, and in 2019, the installation of a new protective sarcophagus was completed over it. Among the objects in the zone, the Duga radar station holds a special place. Before the accident, it was strictly classified, and only years later did its true purpose become known: the detection of intercontinental ballistic missile launches at a distance of up to 3,000 kilometers. Its giant antennas, about 140 meters high, could record missile traces in the atmosphere. Only 3 such complexes were built, but only one has survived to this day, towering over the forests of the exclusion zone and giving visitors the impression of something extraterrestrial. The Chernobyl zone also spawned many legends. One of the most famous is the story of the so-called Blackbird, which station workers allegedly saw even before the accident. The creature was described as a huge, dark figure with a wingspan of about 6 meters, with human features and 2 red eyes glowing on its chest. Some claimed that after meeting it, they experienced severe headaches, and some even died. This blackbird began to be considered a harbinger of catastrophe, much like the American Mothman. Most likely, it is just a myth, but such stories heighten the mystical atmosphere of Chernobyl. A much more real phenomenon was the black radiation-resistant fungi discovered in the most contaminated parts of the reactor. Scientists found that they contain a large amount of melanin, a substance capable of absorbing radiation and actually turning it into an energy source. In 2016, samples of these fungi were sent to the International Space Station, where they reduced radiation levels by about 2%, leading to the development of new protective materials for space missions. After the evacuation of Pripyat, many abandoned dogs remained in the city. Many of them died, but some survived, multiplied, and adapted to the conditions of the zone. Today, about 800 dogs live here, representing great interest to geneticists. Studies have shown that populations living closer to the epicenter of the accident differ significantly from dogs from clean regions, but no serious mutations have been identified yet, and the impact of long-term exposure is still to be studied. One of the most disturbing symbols of Pripyat remains the left-behind toys. Children's dolls, cars, and stuffed animals, abandoned in a hurry, seem to hold the emotions of that day. In abandoned apartments and schools, they lie as if the children are about to return for them, even though many years have passed. It is this image that is often used in horror films and reports about the exclusion zone. The internet is full of stories about so-called Chernobyl zombies. Night video recordings are published where a person allegedly runs away from mutants who catch up to him. However, such videos are staged, created on the wave of popularity of post-apocalyptic themes. The real silhouettes of Pripyat are graffiti created by artists from Russia, Belarus, and Germany. Black figures of people in motion resemble the shadows of former residents, as if frozen forever. Among stalker legends, there is a story about a mutated moose allegedly spotted in the forests of the zone. It was described as an animal significantly larger than normal, with a strange face and glowing yellow eyes. According to witnesses, bullets passed through it as if through smoke. For science, such stories remain unconfirmed, but unusual mutations are indeed possible under the influence of radiation. A real and extremely dangerous object remains the so-called elephant's foot, a massive mass of molten fuel, graphite, and metals formed after the accident. It was discovered in the fall of 1986 in the underground corridors. The radiation level reached 14,500 roentgens per hour, a lethal dose. Even today, being near this object for a few dozen seconds can be fatal. One of the most atmospheric places in Pripyat is a classroom completely littered with gas masks. In the center of the room is a doll, creating an almost theatrical feeling. Although the gas masks were brought here by tourists, the room has become a symbol of panic and an unknown threat. Another eerie place is the kindergarten in Kopachi, the only surviving building of a village completely destroyed due to high radiation levels. Inside, everything looks as if time has stopped. Charred books, rusty beds, broken toys. The village itself has turned into a deserted place, gradually being reclaimed by nature. In Zamoshnia, another abandoned village, there were once a school, a club, a library, and a monastery, but now ruins are barely discernible among the dense trees. Despite the decrease in radiation levels, life will not return there. Among the evacuees, there were people who decided to return home, the so-called Chernobyl babushkas. These elderly women secretly returned to their native villages, managed their households, grew vegetables, and kept animals. Their resilience and love for life attracted the attention of documentary filmmakers, and a film was made about them in which the director admires their courage and sense of humor. Chernobyl became the center of so-called dark tourism, trips to the sites of tragedies. Officially, the zone was opened to tourists in 2010, then closed and reopened. The cost of a tour is about $100, and tens of thousands of people come here annually. However, in addition to official excursions, illegal stalkers also penetrate the zone. Hidden in the forests of Polisi is one of the most radioactive artifacts, a huge metal claw used to collect graphite blocks after the accident. Its radioactivity turned out to be so high that the tool was simply taken out into the wilderness and left there, trying not to reveal its exact location. Giant catfish up to 2 meters long and weighing more than 40 kilograms live in the cooling pond of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Scientists have found that their size is not related to mutations. Due to changes in the ecosystem, many predators disappeared, and the catfish had more food and less competition. In memory of the tragedy, the Wormwood Star Memorial was installed in the center of Chernobyl, the main element of which was a metal angel with a trumpet. It stands on contaminated ground and symbolically announces the catastrophe, referring to the biblical image of the wormwood star, which made the waters bitter. The author of the sculpture sought to express grief for the fallen liquidators. One of the most recognizable objects in Pripyat remains the park with the Ferris wheel, which was never opened. Its launch was planned for May 1, 1986. Now, the rusty attraction serves as a reminder of how suddenly a familiar life can be cut short. Under the wheel, and in some parts of the park, the radiation level still remains elevated, as helicopters landed there during the liquidation. Finally, one of the most unusual stories is considered to be the tale of a Russian commune on the Greek island of Gavdos, founded by scientists who survived radiation exposure. It is said that one of the physicists after the accident left science, took up philosophy, and concluded that he could heal himself with spiritual practices. He gathered followers around him and they created a secluded community, striving for the evolution of consciousness. There are many legends about them, from experiments to achieve immortality to secret research, but the participants themselves claim they are simply looking for a new path for human development. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? Please tell us in the comments. And if you like this video, then give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.